That is right.
Yep.
Yep. Hey, we're live.
Indeed we are.
We are live tonight here. Welcome everybody to the Red 5 Network's live show here on the Scarif Scuttlebutt podcast, the Citadel, as we like to call it. Welcome everybody to the towering inferno that is the Scarif Scuttlebutt podcast. My friend, the butt to my scuttle. How you doing?
You know, ever since you said the word scuttlebutt was stupid, I don't know how to feel about you. I mean, you didn't say it was stupid. You asked rhetorically if it was stupid, implying that it was stupid.
It's so
I'm
much
doing
fun.
great. I'm doing great.
Excellent. Excellent. We got some wonderful people in the chat. Captain Rec, Will, there. We see you there. Who else is there? Danny from Comics and Cosmetics, one of our favorite collaborators and fellow Red Fiver, our patron, Danny. Welcome to the show. We've got Vader. What's up, Vader? Every time I go to my office, I've got a lot of old magazines and things like that I know I sent him a few old magazines, and I keep discovering some old Batman magazines, some old Star Wars Star Logs and things like that I want to send Vader. So we'll be sending him some stuff for sure. Phil, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Phil, see him at C2E2 in Chicago here from time to time.
Awesome.
Good stuff. Thank you guys for joining us. Dave Richards. Hey,
always great to see Dave.
Absolutely. David Jones is in the chat, actor and Star Trek extraordinaire. Mr. He's a handsome guy. Did anybody tell you?
Oh yeah. And I like we're talking Star Wars. I like that question already.
Oh, let's see. Talking who is the Sith? That's
minus 5 points for spelling, but that's all right. It's Saturday. We won't count it against you.
Yeah, that's right. What do you got? You got something to drink? I got a little red wine here that goes along with my We Are Red 5
yeah, I'm not nearly as fancy, but if you guys haven't had it, this Sprite Chill. The Zero, it's cherry lime, and we get the Zero, and they're delicious.
Very nice. Very nice. Zero sugar. Got to take care of yourself. But absolutely. We have a nice group of folks in the chat. Look at those numbers climbing. We are simulcasting both on the Scarif YouTube and on Twitter. I don't call it X. It's still Twitter to me. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. We're going to come back and listen to our takes. I posted earlier, if you don't know what to think about the Acolyte, come on by and we'll tell you what to think about the Acolyte.
You're dang right, we will.
And we'll see how many people we can make cry. My quick review, it's better than the Book of Boba Fett.
This podcast is a member of the Red 5 Network. For more Red 5 Network podcasts and content creators, visit bio.link/red5.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
That is correct. We are the ultimate power in the universe. Welcome, everybody, to the Scarif Scuttlebutt podcast, our Scarif live show, Saturday nights with the butt to my scuttle, my partner in crime, Brad. There is no crying in Star Wars, but let's see how many people we can make cry tonight. Brad, what is happening?
Well, what happens when you have an original opinion is you get called names.
Oh, no, we don't want to call anybody names, and we don't want people to call us names. But you know what? We got a little Teflon going on here. We've been called names before, so it's all right.
Yeah, it really affected 2019 me. But I killed him. I killed the past.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's hilarious.
2024 me doesn't care at all. We're going to tell you how stupid you are here in a second. Rose said I could. Rose said I could.
Yeah, that's right. The elephant in the room. But yeah, can you take a look at the chat? How many people are in there? That's a great number to see, and it's wonderful to see all these folks that join us from time to time. Ubaldo, there's Comics and Cosmetics, as I said. Danny Brown, what is happening? Thank you very much for stopping by this episode of the of Scarif Live. We have been enjoying our interaction with everybody on the Twits, on the socials, on the YouTubes when we do our show. It's been a lot of fun, talking a little nerd, talking a little Star Wars. Star Wars has returned this past last couple of days. When was the premiere? On Tuesday, Wednesday? What was it?
Tuesday. Yeah.
It seems like a lifetime ago that we were following the episodes on Danny's show. We did a watch party. Danny was gracious enough to host that on the Comics and Cosmetics channel. And if you are not familiar with Danny, please.
That was a fireside chat. Sorry to cut you off, but
it was a little bit. Okay, all right.
Yeah,
I see what you did there. I see what you did there.
Fireside chat.
But we're going to talk about that and more tonight. The Acolyte, Star Wars new streaming show. But I don't know if you have any announcements. You want to talk a little bit about something before we dive into our take of the first two episodes? I don't know.
You mean the bantha in the room?
The bantha in the room. I mean, whatever you want. We can start. I've always said that I don't like when podcasts start talking about sports before their main topics. So let's get to it.
We want to talk sports. The Stanley Cup game 1 is tonight, where you guys should be watching that instead of us. But I'm glad you're here anyway. But it's the Oilers and the Panthers, so no one cares. That's good. There's no Blackhawks this year. Maybe next year.
Maybe. Next
year. Hey, announcements. We're almost to 200 episodes.
Yes.
We need to record some more, but we're going to get to 200 episodes real soon here, and we're still trying to give away a PlayStation. Go Oilers. All right. You can have it, Danny. Danny, you guys do have great fans. You probably know what I'm talking about. Free show the other night. Ro, make sure you check it out. They had a very excited fan. Anyway, 200 episodes, and we're giving away a PlayStation to celebrate a lowly PS4. But check out our pinned tweet on Twitter, and that has all the instructions. And so far, only a couple people are participating, so chances are one of them is going to get the PlayStation. If you don't start doing some entries, it takes about 30 seconds. And they're here, by the way, in the chat.
And they've been pretty consistent too.
Pretty consistent, and so they're gonna have a great chance of winning that PlayStation. We will deliver it anywhere in the United States for that, and we'll pick a winner on the 200th episode. So please make sure you follow the directions. They're real easy.
Real easy. You
can enter every day until we do our 200th episode. I think we're probably getting there just by Vader alone. But we have to record before he gets to 200 entries himself.
Yep, absolutely.
We have multiple Oilers fans in the chat.
Yeah, okay. It seems like we do. Yeah. Oh. Semper Fi Danny, what's up? Joseph, Vader, obviously. Subtle Deviancy are one of our biggest fans.
Yeah,
one of your biggest fans, I'm sure.
And yes, I keep having to send my used underwear to him. It's really weird. He likes my Star Wars underoos.
Yeah, I mean, so much that he bought one of our Scarif Scuttlebutt T-shirts and wore it around the house while he was cleaning without his pants on.
If you buy anything from TeePublic, I will wear it first. I will probably stretch it out, but hey, if that's what you're into. But hey, I want to clear the air before we start.
All right, let's clear.
Actually, talking about.
Let's clear the air.
All right. So I'm gonna say this, and we'll see if the numbers go down after I say this. But I'm gonna make this as concise as possible. I'm listening. If you automatically hate something just because of what you think it is, you lack intelligence and probably can't think for yourself. Flip side of that, if you automatically absolutely love something, completely blind, I question your ability to think for yourself. And that's the way it is. And on the other side of that, if you call somebody a racist, misogynist, homophobe, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, just because they have an opinion that differs from your own, you're an idiot. All right. This is a fictional saga. We all love it here. Right. And there are certain aspects we don't like. And we're going to talk about those tonight. But the name calling, it's immature, it's juvenile, and there's no need for it. There's plenty of real issues in this world that you can be talking about and that you could be addressing. But crapping on somebody because they love something or don't love something, you're an idiot. All right. Yeah. So let people have their opinions. It's their opinion. They have every right to have that opinion. If you don't like it, that's fine. You have your own.
Sure.
All right. But stop shitting on people because they either like or don't like something. All right. They're not right or wrong. It's a fictional series, right? Opinions can't be right or wrong. So like all this crap, all right? Before when we didn't even get I had to watch it twice, and I know Ro did as well. I had to watch it twice. Just, we couldn't, I don't think, enjoy it the first time around because there was so much crap surrounding it that we couldn't even focus on the show itself. So I had to give it a rewatch to, really figure out whether I liked it or not. So just, grow up, people.
Yeah, I think people need to relax about certain things. We were just talking about this in the Red 5 network chat that we're all part of. It's interesting too, because I think social media has devolved into into two camps that are so far extreme. And Brad, when you and I started the podcast, we started during the heat of the Last Jedi rhetoric, and obviously we wanted to voice our opinions about what we didn't like about that film. And unfortunately, that kind of attracted some attention from some of the accounts that are career Last Jedi haters. And we kind of said our piece and said we're not about that. We're looking forward to the next, whatever the next thing is. We talked about our likes, our dislikes, and we're moving on.
Yeah.
And I think for the most part, when I see such a weird extremisms on social media, it's like you've got the camp that hates it and wants everything to burn, which I think is odd, especially if you're a Star Wars fan. And I know a lot of people say, oh, you're not a true Star Wars fan or a real Star Wars fan, but I can't imagine a real Star Wars fan wanting Star Wars to fail because of their preconceived notions.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, obviously you have the other folks that are like, I love everything and everything is perfect, which is not, but
no.
You and I think a lot of our podcast mates like to discuss it in an adult manner, in a way that offers criticism, but in a way that isn't insulting and isn't just talking out of our ass, which I think a lot of podcasts and a lot of content creators do. So I agree with everything you have said, and I would hope that if anybody knows us and follows us, they understand what we are all about. We've been out here for several years, and we are not the type of Star Wars fans that hate Star Wars because of one thing or another. We take it at face value. We analyze it. We examine what we like. we discuss what we don't, and then we move on. We're not career YouTubers that depend on hate clicks for money. We are, I'd like to think that we are honest critiquers and, lifelong Star Wars fans. I always say, when you cut me, I bleed Star Wars. And I hope people understand that through some of our interactions, and we may sometimes, be, tongue in cheek, jokey about certain things, but in the long run, like you said earlier, there is no wrong opinion on what you like or dislike. And I would hope that that people that follow us understand that.
Yeah, and just because it has Disney in front of it, I mean, there have been great Disney Star Wars products, right, since they bought the franchise.
Sure.
I mean, Rogue One, we love the Andor show, obviously related to Rogue One.
Sure.
All the cartoons that we've had, all the shorts. There's been all kinds of good stuff since Disney bought it. So to
Sure.
blindly love it or hate it just because it's Disney, it's completely juvenile.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jedi of Chicago, for that. But we're passionate Star Wars fans, and we know a lot of passionate Star Wars fans. And sometimes we get a little upset, but I think it's because we have that passion. We've grown up with this franchise for since our childhood, and we also kind of have to understand that for this franchise to kind of continue into the next 50 years, sometimes some change is necessary. We might not like that change, but let's see where it goes, and let's discuss it, and let's talk about it, and let's talk about the stuff that we like.
And as always, if you're a keyboard warrior, go get a freaking hobby, or just go outside for once. Get out of the basement and go do something real with your life.
Get some vitamin D.
Really. Let's talk about some Acolyte, shall we?
Let's talk about some Acolyte. So before the series dropped, I know that you and I were talking about whether we were excited or not, and I know you had mentioned to me that you weren't that excited, and then you changed a little bit, and you said, well, maybe I'm a little excited. But give me the 411 on that process, learning about the Acolyte, and maybe learning a little bit more about what the story entailed. And obviously we didn't get a lot of information, prior to this big media blitz that has happened over the last 6 months. But tell me a little bit about your process, how you learned about the Acolyte and what you thought it was going to be. And, we'll kind of slowly segue into what it actually is, at least this first 2 episodes.
Yeah. I mean, remember when, was it Kathleen Kennedy? Yeah, I think it was KK who made the announcement, of all the different Star Wars projects that were coming out in the next few years, and, had the timeline and all that. And Acolyte was one of those. And I remember being most intrigued by the Acolyte. I think they've talked about some other things that have not come to fruition. So initially, when they made the announcement, I was very excited for it, and very intrigued by the idea. But it seemed like a long time to get off the ground, and it seemed like there was a lot of false starts, or we don't know if this is going to happen. So that kind of killed the excitement for it, because we didn't know if it was ever going to happen. And then, just more recently with all the, basically hate speech, on social media surrounding it. And as you found, people were posting interviews from years ago and saying they were about the Acolyte. And,
right.
All kinds of stuff, that kind of killed a lot of my excitement for it. But seeing a lot, I mean, like you said, they advertised the hell out of this one.
Yeah.
And seeing a lot of those trailers and just the footage, I was like, maybe this might be something. But still, with all that crap surrounding, I think I said very cautiously optimistic for the show. And when you guys were doing the watch party, I still couldn't really enjoy it that first time around. I had to give it a rewatch yesterday and today to actually figure out what my opinion was of the
Sure.
show, not something biased by everything else going on the internet.
Sure. It's funny because when a show comes out or right before it comes out, I really don't pay attention to a lot of the stuff beforehand. I think since the announcement of the Acolyte, I really was excited because we get to see, besides getting to see more Star Wars, but we get to see a time period that on the big screen or the small screen, we really have not gone into. I think when I started, finding out a little bit more about what, not only what the word acolyte means, but what the implications were for the Jedi, I started to get a little excited because, we grew up during the original trilogy where the time frame of the Jedi, they're these fabled, knights of the Republic and protectors of peace and all that stuff. But I guess the concept of an acolyte in that time period really intrigues me. And I know, I joke around with everybody, but everybody knows that Darth Vader is my favorite character. For something, for some reason, the dark side pulls to me, and I find that interesting. I find the dark side of humanity an interesting concept, and I think bringing that into the Star Wars world, especially in what we are assuming that we're going to see, really intrigued me. So I was really excited for the show to come out. I was obviously excited to kind of talk to you about it because I know we really get into the bushes when it comes to, really analyzing and deep dives on the dark side and balance and all that stuff. So I was really intrigued and I was really excited.
Yeah. Talk about the dark side. A couple points there. Number one, are we entirely sure these are Sith that we're talking about?
No. And
I
I know,
don't think
I
it
know a
is.
lot of, right. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, this guy with the Sith and this and that. And I don't think they are Sith at this moment.
Yeah, and I know we'll talk about more about critiques, but one critique I've had lately about some of the quote unquote evil characters or bad guys on especially Star Wars is I don't find them that evil. Like May in this one, whichever sister that was in the Obi-Wan series, I don't find them bad enough bad guys.
You
They
mean
seem they
Reva
seem
or Reva?
yeah, Reva.
Yeah.
Like I don't find them bad enough to be considered the bad guys. You notice that?
Yeah. Do you mean that you don't find them as bad as Anakin when he slaughtered younglings?
If you're a dark sider, like typically, like if you're Sith or any kind of acolyte of the dark side, like you're gonna. I don't know. I don't believe them fully as quote unquote bad guy characters.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, May seems pissed off, but like the conversation she was having with the guy in the shop,
Sure.
and those just seem like normal conversations. Like I don't know. I don't completely feel them as bad guys.
Right. Yeah, I can see your meaning. I think like you're right. May did seem, is it May or Osha? Which one is this one on screen?
May that's May there.
Right. Osha was
Is the good one.
The mech.
The mechanic.
Why did you drop the A? Just call him a mechanic.
Because mechanic.
Because Star Wars.
Yeah. Yeah. May was in the Mordian, that's how they say it.
Slip of the tongue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can see your point. I think, and really when you think about it, having George Lucas slaughter younglings, or at least give the implication that he did, kill the young Jedi, I really do think that sets him apart when it comes to an evil character. I think obviously seeing little Anakin, grow up from being this like pure little kid into someone that would have the ability to kill younglings. I think it makes his story arc, even more impactful and important once he is redeemed by his son, later on in Return of the Jedi. But I see your point, I guess, of
I mean, like I'm just
making
saying, like older films, like you knew who the bad guy was in the room,
right, yeah,
like whether it be Palpatine, Maul, even Dooku. I mean, it's hard to compare any actor to Christopher Lee, or Vader. You know, any of the bad guys, you knew who the bad guy was in the room.
sure.
Seeing, you know, Reva or May, you know, they just don't. I don't think they exude enough evil.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, you and I, we talk about um, this, I guess, the space in the good versus evil fight where it's a little bit more gray.
Yeah,
And I know a lot of films have been introducing the concept of, not truly, bad guys, but maybe, characters that are misunderstood or their motivations are, not quite literally evil per se, in the traditional sense, but maybe misguided. I think May definitely qualifies as misguided. You said earlier that she seems like she's a little pissed off, and I would assume that she is, based on some of the hints that we are getting in the story regarding her village and what happened 6 or 16 years ago.
16. Yeah,
And I'm really intrigued to find out what these Jedi did 16 years ago to precipitate them kind of going into hiding again, and having May and this acolyte character go after them.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I've told you before my issue with Disney and other companies kind of blurring what it means
Mhm.
to be evil and like making you want to sympathize with the bad guy. I generally don't like that. Let the bad guy be the bad guy, and let like I think they're kind of vilifying the Jedi. Uh,
Mm,
you know, they have for a while now. And I think you should let in this type of fiction, just let the good guys, the heroes, be the heroes.
yeah, and we go back there because I had said the same thing to Mark Newbold from Fantatrax earlier today regarding villainizing the Jedi. I've always had a problem with that, but I understand George Lucas's the prequels. He started to bring in that little bit of inadequacy in the Jedi Council, and I think this series definitely kind of goes along with that. um I don't know if you want to you want to kind of maybe do a point by point on that first episode, and we can continue the discussion and
Yeah,
chat. You guys are wonderful. You guys are giving us some great ideas in the chat as well. If you have any questions for us, please drop them in there, and then we'll talk about them. But yeah, episode 1. What are some of your thoughts on that?
let's see. Uh, I'll start with my biggest criticism
Sure.
of this one and into the second one as well. But for this episode in particular, I do not like how much they were using the Jedi mind trick.
Right.
To me, it seemed excessive. I think one, it's not. I don't think it's supposed to work on everybody that easy, or whatever form of Jedi mind trick they were doing. I think it's a little immoral to be, and also I think it's a little weak plot wise, just to be able to get the answer out of anybody, just by doing that. And I don't think it would be the Jedi way, to use an old phrase, to Jedi mind trick everybody you came across to get whatever answers you need.
Sure. Yeah. Semper Fi Danny, at this time of the timeline, though, I kind of want to see more positive version of the Jedi and less ambiguity of their goodness than what we saw in the prequel trilogy. I tend to agree with you there. But I think I want to say, playing devil's advocate, I do want to say that this might be by design. I think, unfortunately, I know there is a saying out there that everything leads to the sequel trilogy, and the fact that the Jedi are kind of they're in that gray area. They're not as noble as we thought they were, and I think this adds to that narrative. I think.
Do you
Um,
like that? Again, I think my
no,
my
I
my
mean,
my opinion is I think what George was trying to do, and then, you know, we all try to figure out what George. I mean, only George knows what he was trying to say. But I think the point of the sequels was to show how smart and cunning and devious and, you know, evil Palpatine was.
Yes,
and
right.
how much of a genius he was to outsmart. And, you know, there's only 2 Sith at a time, and he outsmarted an entire order. And I think that was more of the point. And then we just latched on to this. Yeah, the Jedi. I mean, he was. You know, we talk about the Jedi Council being blind, right? If you go back to the, you know, what we know about that time, Palpatine was literally using the dark side to cloud everything.
Right.
So that was the reason why the council couldn't see a lot of this going on. It wasn't so much that they were so proud they couldn't see all this was going on. They were being blocked from the Force by Palpatine. But then we just latched onto this little idea that they were, you know, the whole order was flawed. And
Right.
And just with like any large group of people, a certain percentage of them are going to be flawed.
Sure.
But, you know, I just don't like this, you know, this negative connotation we put on the Jedi in the last few years.
Right. I mean, I don't like it. You asked the question if I liked it. I do have a little bit of a problem with that, but I think, you know, to introduce this flaw in the Jedi in this era, I guess would add to, you know, what George did in the prequels. And I, you know, being devil's advocate again, I'm gonna take that role tonight. You know, Palpatine definitely was, you know, smart and cunning, and I think when it comes to using or discovering an opportunity to exploit, I think Palpatine definitely did that. Whether the Jedi Council were a bunch of idiots or not, I think Palpatine still had that ability to weed out or kind of find a way in to be able to kind of you know, put a wedge in between, you know, how the Jedi were perceived versus how they connect to the Force, and how they are, you know, starting to disconnect in order for them to, in order for Palpatine to kind of you know, play his hand in control and, you know, and setting up the Empire, really.
Yeah, Jedi of Chicago has a good point there, or, you know, it's kind of what we're talking about here. There's that, and then you know, we kind of talked about this when you and Danny were doing the watch about Master Soul, talking about our political adversaries using that against us, about, you know, a former Jedi attacking. I thought that comment seemed a little off. I don't think we've talked about in the past the problem, you know, of the Jedi aligning themselves with the Republic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you go back to the EU, old Republic times, the Jedi try to stay separate from the Republic for a reason. And, you know, now they've gotten themselves caught up in politics. I don't know if if that line seemed a little odd, but it does kind of connect to what they said in the prequels, I guess.
Yeah, you know, I'm interested and eager to find out more. You know, I've said this before, the political machinations of the prequels intrigues me. And I think one of the biggest reasons, obviously, is I think the way Ian McDiarmid portrays Palpatine in both, you know, the Palpatine character and the Darth Sidious character is superb. I think his performance is almost you know, divine intervention in the way that he carries himself. So it does intrigue me. I think the story of the politics of the prequels is really fascinating to me, and I think we're going to see a little bit of that here. Obviously, you had what is that? And I'm not sure what the characters' names are. The Vanestra Rowe,
Yeah,
you know, talking about that. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, so I'm going to this is where I get called a shill. So everybody can go ahead and subtle deviancy. You can go ahead and preemptively call me a shill for now playing devil's advocate. One of the criticisms I had, you know, when I first watched it, and I'm going to retract it a little bit on this one, was the writing of the first episode. When I first watched it, I was like, "Oh God, what is this?" I thought the writing was bad. On second, on the rewatch, I realized, the writing is clumsy in parts for sure. Some of the dialogue seems forced, but again, this is where we need to think about Star Wars. Star Wars,
Star Wars is clunky sometimes.
we have this in our head, this bar so high in our minds for Star Wars, where we forget that it is clumsy and it is cheesy at times. And on the rewatch, I didn't really find the writing really any more clumsy or awkward than a lot of the other projects in the past. I thought it was actually on par with a lot of those things.
Yeah, I mean, I can safely say that I agree mostly. It's interesting too because you put this side by side with an Andor, and Andor will win hand over fist. But if you put something like this next to that awkward love scene between Anakin and Padme during the Attack of the Clones, where she's finally they finish dinner.
That
It's
was
very
bad. Yeah,
it was
that was.
yeah.
I mean, there's bad stuff in the prequels. There's bad stuff in the sequels. Like if you put it up against that, it's I think it surpasses those
Sure.
in
Yeah.
quality.
But yeah, I mean, let's talk about some of the other things that we really like. During the watch party with Danny, I mean, I was very, very pleasantly surprised, and I know, anybody that knows me knows what I do for a living, and what are some of the things that I enjoy when it comes to Star Wars. This show looks very much like a Star Wars. It definitely has a lot of detail, a lot of depth to it. The color palette is not as muted as some of the other shows, but the effects, the wide shots, the camera movement, some of the environments. I mean, a lot of the environments are really, really great. I think the production design overall is I want to say near flawless. If you put this show and maybe have someone like the Gilroys write something, I think it would probably be a 9.8 out of 10.
Yeah, I mean, visually, some of the makeup was weird.
Yes.
But we'll get to episode 2, but obviously Torben. I did not. I think with the Jedi, they're trying to make them look like the what we see on the cover of the High Republic.
Sure.
Covers, the book covers. But other than that, visually, I appreciated it even more the second time around.
Right.
If you look at a lot of these shots, those look like Ralph McQuarrie stills in a lot of those shots.
Yeah.
And they have that feeling to them, that vibe that you're talking about. And just watching with a clear head, it looked like Star Wars to me.
Yeah, it definitely did. There are times that we kind of cling to the past and want to see the same thing over and over again, and that's when I think is funny, the duality of fandom. Obviously you want to go back to a galaxy far, far away where everything is familiar, but then you also want new stuff. So us fans were sometimes fickle. There's no way around describing that, but yeah, to me, I love the production design. I love the way it looks. We always talk about George Lucas's used universe, and this definitely had it. There's still, obviously there's still some problems. I'm always a big stickler to the whole, these costumes look like they just got off the hangers at Walmart or whatever, but
Party City.
But yeah, I mean, I think for the most part, this show looks fantastic.
It does. What did you think of the choreography of the fights?
You know what? Before that, I want to put up a post here from Talking Star Wars. Do you think we'll hear any nods to any theme like the Force theme? I do want to talk about, because we mentioned this when we were doing the Comics and Cosmetics watch. The music is really, really good.
Music's good.
There are points when I can hear some notes from the prequel, and I think obviously that is deliberate. Somebody earlier also said that it has Semper Fi Danny has strong prequel trilogy vibes, and there are certain through points of some of the music that you can definitely hear, a little bit of that John Williams prequel trilogy theme, especially from Attack of the Clones. Attack of the Clones is also billed almost as not a murder mystery, but it's kind of a mystery because Obi-Wan is, going around trying to figure out, who Cypher Dyas is and how
really
the Clone
bad
Army.
mystery.
But this is also another mystery. So I kind of like that. I really enjoy the music.
I would say the music to maybe pay attention for that I hope they would, make a nod to is either the Plagueis theme from episode 3, which also closely follows the Snoke theme from The Last Jedi. That's why, I'm sorry, the Force Awakens. When we thought Snoke was Plagueis, to pay attention for that tune, like as we hopefully hear more conversations between Zipperface and May.
Yeah, and one thing that I want to remind folks too is a lot of times you can watch Star Wars with just the soundtrack and still get an idea of the story. John Williams has established that front and center. So I'm really hoping that this does the same thing. I posted the other day, even your worst Star Wars film or project has really, really great music. I was listening to the soundtrack for the Book of Boba Fett, and there's some really great tracks on that soundtrack. So yeah, Brad is right. Listen to the music because there's some hints in there for sure.
Yeah, Danny mentions Kevin Kiner. I mean, he's been doing amazing work.
The first time I realized that Kevin Kiner should do movies was I don't know, one of the early seasons of Rebels. Yeah. There was an episode where they go back to what's the big guy's name? His home planet.
Oh yeah, the Bendu.
No,
who are you talking about?
In Rebels, the Chewbacca replacement guy.
The Chewbacca replacement guy.
The big guy, the big creature.
Oh yeah, those guys. Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I don't know the name of his planet.
Yeah. But there's a really great episode where they go back to his home world, and the music is just mesmerizing. And I'm like, wow, this guy really should move on from the small screen to the big screen because, he really has it. But yeah, Danny, for sure.
Zeb Aurelius.
Zeb Aurelius. There you go. The Lestat, and I keep saying the Lestat, which is Interview of the Vampire. It's a whole different franchise. But what else? Since you're shilling, what else do you like about this first episode or the series as a whole?
Let's see. We talked about how it looks. How it looks is the biggest thing for me.
Any favorite characters?
I mean, the guy playing Saul. I mean, I think he's doing a great job. From what I read, I hope the article was true that he learned English specifically for this role, which is incredible. I mean, I think his accent is amazing, and he said how much he loved Liam Neeson playing Qui-Gon Jinn.
Yes.
And study. So anybody who likes Qui-Gon is all right by me. I didn't. I mean, Coruscant looks beautiful. I mean, we can keep talking about how it looks, but Coruscant looked beautiful. I do wish, going back from shilling, I do wish they had introduced Jedi that we already know or used Jedi that we already know. I don't know if maybe somebody in the chat or if you've heard. I don't know if Venestra is part of the High Republic books.
She is.
She is.
All
right. So I mean, I guess she's much older than Saul, since she says, "I remember when you were that age." So she doesn't look it, but I guess she's older.
Yeah.
But yeah, and Yord, I know what they're going for with Yord. Again, they're going with that High Republic look. And I see what they're doing with his character. Right. I think they're trying to make him kind of like Obi-Wan, how he treated Qui-Gon. Like hey, you're not doing this by the book. You should be doing this stuff.
Sure.
And, how stupid he was kind of grew on me, because I think he's going to grow as a character throughout the series. I think he starts off as a, idiot. But I think he'll come along as the season goes on.
Sure. Yeah. And Dave Richard says that surely Yoda will pop up at some point, and I know he's alive during this, but Leslie Headland had mentioned that they were told to leave Yoda out.
And where did you hear? You mentioned something about Yaddle. Where did you hear that from?
Several sources have mentioned that we will get Yaddle somewhere in this series. So who knows?
That'd be cool. She deserves more time, and she speaks normally. She doesn't speak backwards like Yoda does. So
yeah, I wonder what that's all about.
It shouldn't be hard. I don't
know. Yeah, for sure.
What do you love? What do you love about the first episode?
I mean, my brother has always commented on the fact that he would love to see some martial arts type fighting in Star Wars. He was always a proponent of that, and loving movies, from Bruce Lee to Bruce Lee's son, Brandon Lee, and Jackie Chan, and all those movies that have some very dynamic martial arts, Crouching Tiger, Living Dragon, or whatever the hell the name was. I think obviously we all got our wish. If anybody wished that, the Acolyte is very replete of that fighting style. Again, sometimes some of those jump sequences don't work for me. They're a little too far-fetched, but I think again, Leslie Headland had said that, they're going to strive for something as good, or if not better than the prequel fight between Obi-Wan and Darth Maul. That's a very high bar to try and proclaim.
Try for it, but
yeah. But, if they do it, kudos, let's see what happens. But,
was that opening scene too Matrix?
No, and I'm assuming that you are only using that analogy because, Trinity is in it, but
well, yeah, but it also looked like the Matrix.
It looked a lot like it. Yeah. I don't know. I think I was intrigued at the, right off the bat. I wanted to see what was going on, and I didn't really focus on the fighting style as much as, wow, we get Carrie-Anne Moss in the first scene. And what's going to happen. And by the way, spoilers, if you haven't seen it, we realize what happened during the first scene, and we're sad, but I think we're going to get to see more of her because there's some flashback scenes coming later on.
Yeah, whatever happened 16 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, so what would you want to anything else you want to discuss on episode 1, or you want to give your rating?
No, there's a lot of talk out there regarding pacing. I know the first episode was a little, I don't want to say slow, but I think the first episode had a lot to set up. There's a lot of I guess explanations and talking and stuff like that. But I didn't really mind it. I do feel like Star Wars has a running time issue. I'm not sure why these episodes are only half an hour, when every other episodic television in streaming is at least 50 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't know. And this series is only going to be 8 episodes, so it's even shorter than what we've been getting so far. I think Andor was 6? Kenobi was 8. I can't remember.
Well, no, Andor had a bunch. Andor has like 12 or something like that.
Well, yeah, 12. You're right. So yeah, I don't know. I agree with Tim's talk. I think the fight was done well at the beginning there. I mean, at least it gets to introduce you to these new characters.
I actually love it because we've always called them monks. They are monks.
Yeah.
And seeing that fighting style, I thought was pretty awesome. You and I were talking about the lightsabers. I don't know if you want to talk about that now or later, but there's definitely, after rewatching it, there's definitely something there. They mentioned the weapon of a Jedi, many times or a few times, and she definitely lunges at both those masters' lightsabers.
Yeah.
So there's got to be something there.
And it's funny because you can tell that she lunges for the lightsaber, and then when Carrie Ann Moss's character dies, she obviously drops the lightsaber, and she doesn't pick it up. So I wonder if it's almost like a samurai thing or a ninja thing, where it's like the way to defeat you is to destroy you with your own weapon, and that's the ultimate insult. But she does it with Saul's character too. When you see that sequence, that fighting in the town, you can tell that she like kind of lunges for it in slow motion, and then Saul backs away. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what explanation they have for that type of thing. That bar at the beginning, I really enjoy the creatures in that bar. There's a lot of varied, creatures, and Star Wars obviously does really well with that.
Yeah.
What'd you think of all the new creatures?
I mean, that was cool. I mean, I guess it's always good. I mean, we're talking about a big galaxy here. Sometimes I go back and forth on that, where I just want to see the same 12 species of characters, but that's completely unrealistic for a galaxy that large.
Sure.
But talking about going back to what we were saying about evil or not evil, one thing that kind of, I don't know, it set a little bit wrong with me is when she saw the child of the bartender and
Yes,
didn't kill him. So I understand she's trying to get revenge on these 4 Jedi masters for whatever the hell happened.
right.
On, I guess, Brendok, I think it is. I understand she's specifically trying to get revenge on these, but if she's some kind of dark side acolyte, I've never seen them refrain from killing somebody because there was a little kid nearby. So
Yeah.
I think we're going to find this. I'm going to guess another redemption arc for May.
Yeah, and I think I think she's being used by this teeth masked guy. And isn't that how things happen? You have somebody with more influence, trying to convince you or turn you against something that may not be the right thing to do. When you're, it's almost like kicking somebody when they're down, or trying to influence them, somebody that who may not have the self-esteem enough to say no, get away from me. So it's interesting. We'll see what happens with that
Yeah.
one. But
And I guess I was I was thinking that the mystery was, who killed these Jedi. I guess that's not the mystery. The mystery is how the hell is she still alive? And obviously who is Zipperface, and please don't be a Knight of Ren. Please don't.
What was Ren's first name? I know he was in one of the Charles Soule comic books.
I don't know. I try to repress all that.
They
were such nothing characters.
Yeah, it's too bad. Subtle Deviancy says, I bought Adam Driver as Kylo. I'm not buying Amandla Sternberg as May. I actually like her. She's one of my favorite characters in this.
Yeah, so I really like her as Osha. And I think she's got a very natural feel to her.
Yeah.
I like her with the, I was picking up a lot of Jedi Survivor type vibes between her and her little Pip droid.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of seemed like, the BD1 relationship in Jedi Survivor. I got that feel from it. I don't, so far, I don't think she's selling May enough. Like we were saying earlier, I don't think she's quite evil enough or bad enough, corrupted, whatever word you want to use, as May right now. I think she could sell that a little bit more and make it a bigger difference between the two characters. But I didn't see a problem with Osha, though.
Yeah, no. Like I said, I liked her. I
mean, way better than Reva,
Oh,
whatever I couldn't stand watching her, and I so far don't have really a problem watching this character.
Yeah. Neither do I. No. All right. So, what do you want? You want to rate?
What'd you think about the humor?
You know, as people that know me know that I'm not too fond of overt comedy in my science fiction or fantasy. Um, I didn't mind the humor. I think it was a little more natural than the forced stuff that I didn't like in The Last Jedi, like your mama jokes. I
Or
feel
episode 2? I'm so beside myself.
you didn't like that. Come on, that's
What a drag. No.
drag. Yeah, I mean, I think it was naturally placed. I think it wasn't really, they weren't trying to Saturday Night Live it.
Yeah.
I think it, some of the humor fit the situation. I think, it's not like they did a Mr. Roper and then looked at the camera and went.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think it was subtle enough, but I think it was just enough there. I thought it was very Star Warsy.
yeah,
But,
I think so too.
So what's your rating out of 10?
Out of 10, I think, I think early on I had given it like a 6 out of 10. I might bring mine back up to like a 7.5 out of 10. Probably going to watch it again, even before the next one comes out on Tuesday. But, I think it was I don't know, a solid first episode. There's probably, I said this online the other day. I think sometimes I wish that these shows the episode would drop at once because, we're kind of discussing some of the elements in the first 2 episodes, sometimes just the first episode as it drops without any context. We're trying to figure out, character motivations. We're trying to figure out scenarios and overarching, character arches from the first to the last episode, which we obviously don't know. We don't know if some of these motivations are, written that way on purpose in order for their character to either grow or find something out, in future episodes. So, some of the stuff that that we talked about, and obviously, we'll get into the second episode in a few minutes regarding, Jedi that commit suicide. I think it's fundamental to kind of remind ourselves that we're only looking at a small piece of the puzzle here when it comes to being able to understand the entire series when we really only have 1 or 2 episodes.
Yeah. So I will tell you, when I first watched it, and I put it on Twitter or on the chat while you guys were doing the watch party, I gave it a 4 initially. Second watch, I moved it up to a 5.5.
Okay. And that's I think that was kind of my original rating when I watched it with Danny. Yeah.
Which, for me, that's and I think like you're saying, we're going to have to look at it more holistically when the entire series is out. How well did it fit into the entire thing?
Mm-hmm.
But and you can work with 5.5. There's other projects, where I would give them a 2 or a 3. You can't really work with that, but you can work with 5.5 Little Ponies. Subtle, Jesus. I don't know why Ro's telling all my secrets online, but I give it a 5.5, and I'm willing for that to go up after some more. I didn't have a problem rewatching it, and that says something. I didn't find it painful to watch it over again.
Mm-hmm.
So I gave it a 5.5 for
sure
all the different things that we talked about.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to go back to the trailer because I noticed that I was going to kind of skim through the second episode just to give us a guide, but I noticed that Disney has blacked out the screen. So I'm just going to go back to that screen and just kind of leave that up. But folks in the chat, Dave Richards, a 6 out of 10 for him. Definitely potential to increase. I think, like I said, I think, we'll see what happens in episode 3. I know, there's rumors regarding some things that are going to happen in episode 3 that are really going to turn some people off. But we'll see. We'll cross that bridge when it comes to. Danny also says 6 for her.
Well, it seems about and I think you can work with that. There are some stupid parts, but again, there's stupid parts to every single Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
But before we get into episode 2, I just want to say thank you to, we're doing this on Twitter now as well, and there's looks like 67 people currently watching on Twitter.
Very nice.
So as our first time seeing how that works, that's pretty cool. So we appreciate you guys all tuning in on this Saturday night. And if you have any questions or comments, we'd love to hear them.
Yeah, absolutely. Danny is 6 out of 10. I think with a longer runtime and more balanced pacing, it could be a solid 7.
Completely agree.
Yeah, and during Danny's thing, I did mention that it felt almost like a comic book. The last scenes right before the credits definitely look like that end page when you turn the page and something happens.
That
and then
really got that.
On the on the bottom it says tune in next week. So yeah.
We're being too positive. I got to bring it back down. We mentioned it on Twitter. Don't say you don't have to have a weapon to kill a Jedi and then ignite your lightsaber at the same time.
Right.
That was clunky right there.
What's up, Andrew? Thanks for stopping by.
Andrew, we're currently hating on the Acolyte right now just because we can. So please join in on the fun.
Excellent. It's funny because you had mentioned during Danny's thing, you were a little ahead of us, and you kept spoiling it for me. And there was one time I was cracking up. You said you guys just missed. You guys are going to see a droid turn into a chair.
A seat cushion.
And I'm like, oh my god,
yeah,
that's too funny.
Subtle. They were kind of cool. I don't know why they're kind of cool, but
yeah.
It's kind of like put your seats in the upright position. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. It was cool in a very dorky way.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you guys notice up on top, the right-hand corner, you have a Buy Me a Coffee logo thing. If you guys are enjoying and you just want to kind of throw some coffee cash at us, we will happily accept. Head on over to buymeacoffee.com/Scarif, and we will say thank you. We'll send you some, maybe I'll send you some stickers.
We're better caffeinated.
We are better caffeinated. Excellent. All right, cool. Episode 2 of The Acolyte. And, I failed to mention the first episode is called Lost and Found. Did you get any connection of a Lost and Found? Any prolific or prophetic revelations?
Just May.
Yeah. And then Revenge/Justice. I wonder, too, if they're going to do the whole, yin and yang
That's what
title
it seems like.
format. So I think...
one person's revenge is another person's justice.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
And then it plays to the duality of the Force as well. I mean, dark side, light side. We'll see. Episode 2.
Yeah.
I don't even know what happened in episode 2. Oh,
it's all Torben.
Yeah. Torben and Kirik, the apothecary guy who people think is the Acolyte. We'll see what happens.
He seemed to know a lot.
Yeah, a little more.
And it was driving me crazy. Did you ever watch The Good Place with Kristen Bell?
I remember. Yeah, I remember that.
He's a dude from Jacksonville, and it was driving me crazy. Like I know this guy. I recognize. We had to look him up because his voice was driving me crazy. Like I know who this guy is. Like he's from Jacksonville. So
too funny. Yep.
Yeah, that's why he's the dealer, because he's from Jacksonville. Sorry to anybody that's from Jacksonville in the chat. But
yes, Danny calls him even creepier Ezra Miller. Yeah, totally.
I don't know. Do you want to compare anybody to Ezra Miller? I don't know. But yeah, I've told you this. This is my biggest issue with the show, and I understand why they did it. She couldn't kill Master Torben because he had his impenetrable force field around him, which we can talk about force fields if we, But I am fundamentally against the idea of a Jedi taking their own life.
Right.
I think that goes against what they consider to be natural in the universe. Not to mention, it goes against, creating life and that sort of thing, but also obviously whatever happened 16 years ago was really bad. And that's I think the point of the whole story. But a Jedi not, taking, having accountability for his actions and instead taking, the way out of suicide. I don't see that, ever happening. And
Sure.
I can't think of any other cases. Anybody in the chat can prove me wrong. But I don't know of any other, like, sacrificing yourself for the greater good is one thing. Taking your life because you refuse to take accountability for whatever happened, that's completely different. So that was my huge issue with this episode.
The Last Jedi.
Well, whatever that was.
Will brings up something. It's a little bit of a deep dive. He said that he was sitting on a
No.
Isalamiri.
That would require them to do research, and no.
Well,
He couldn't have been, because those negated the Force. You're wrong, Will. Those negate the Force. So
Right.
I don't know. But I'm gonna go take a look now. Now that you said it, now I have to look because
when he finally did die, he plopped on the floor and there was nothing under him. He just plopped on the floor.
But what do you think about that idea of suicide?
No, yeah, I reject that notion too, especially with the Jedi. Similar to Luke just giving up and saying, you know what, fuck my family, fuck my friends. I'm just gonna sit here on this rock and die. So I don't subscribe to that idea. Although we do hear him whisper to Osha, we thought we were doing the right thing, and then he does the deed. So something massively heavy happened 16 years ago. Looking forward to seeing what that is. I hope it's more than just they had a bad dream.
Yeah. We've heard from Danny and Will in the chat. I'd love to hear other people's opinion in the chat, whether you think suicide is something a Jedi would do in a situation like this.
You said this regarding Semper Fi Danny's message here. You said that early on your personal Twitter. You said suicide. It's something that I learned when I was in 5th grade.
Yeah.
This kids show, but
Star Wars is for kids. Yeah. I don't see it. And maybe that's showing that he's not much of a Jedi.
Could be, but again, I think maybe we are missing the context of everything else. Only 2 episodes in, we'll, again, being devil's advocate. There's more story to play out here. We'll see what the flashbacks kind of present, especially with that character, because in the trailer we do see that character being succumbed by some sort of witchcraft. His eyes turn black and then he falls to the ground. Yeah. So there are certain kind of weird implications on him just by that. But yeah, how long was he meditating like that?
10 years, they said.
10 years.
10 years. Yeah. Which I'm always willing for new ways of seeing the Force, and
sure.
Yeah, I won't just throw that out there. I could see it. There's been very meditative, contemplative Jedi that have kind of hold themselves up and done stuff like that before. So I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility in the Star Wars universe.
Right. Yeah. So the second episode, basically, we've got some sleuthing. It's weird. The Jedi temple that they go to seems like it was just like in the middle of a little town square.
So, yeah, and they kind of make I think the High Republic books, you talk about, you didn't really get into those, but even in the Living Force, the new one by John Jackson Miller, they talk about all these Jedi outposts all over the galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they did put a lot of them in these areas
okay.
where it was basically an outreach program to the galaxy. So I think that checks with the current literature.
Sure.
For how the Jedi operate.
Semper Fi Danny has a good point. One can argue that Obi-Wan did a form of suicide in A New Hope.
I mean, I would, yeah, and well, like you said, Danny, there may be a fine line between suicide and sacrifice. And,
Self-sacrifice. Yeah.
I think he thought his physical form was not enough to be able to help out Luke, but he knew that, one, he had to have another call to action for Luke to get inspired to do the right thing. So, Luke saw the whole thing transpire. And also he knew that he'd be able to communicate with Luke anywhere and everywhere if he, was one with the Force. So
Sure.
I would, it may be semantics, but I would put that more into the sacrifice.
Yeah, I think you're right. The end results are clearer in the Obi-Wan Kenobi example than I'm meditating and trying to cleanse myself for 10 years. And all of a sudden I'm like, yeah, I'll just kill myself instead.
Yeah. Yeah. And Will mentions the brash, and I didn't, and that was another thing. I didn't even catch the first time that she mentioned the bearish or brash, however you want to say it.
I had to look it up.
Yeah. So yeah, as Will says, they did talk about that, and there was, a lot of Jedi with kind of guilty conscience and stuff like that, where they're like, I've had enough of this, and they chose a life of peace and solitude and stuff like that. So it is based off some of the reference material, which is good.
Yeah. I mean, Leslie Headland had said that she is a fan of the EU. There's definitely some EU aspects coming through. And you were more of an EU guy than me, so you're going to have to kind of help me out with pulling some of those references in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we have some EU fans in the chat as well. I don't think there's any references to that in the 90s stuff or early 2000s. I think that's mainly since guys like Charles Soule and stuff, folks like that started writing for it for Star Wars. But I mean, it makes sense in the comics and in the books.
Yeah. Okay.
But
what else in episode 2?
Binoculars for standing 10 feet away.
I found that kind of funny as well. When they cut, they're fighting in the square, and then he cuts to Yor, and he's like this, and I'm like, dude, you're
right
sitting.
there.
He's right there.
He's right there.
And the other little nitpick is the little girl that Osha hired to throw the rock at the security camera droid, and when the droid came out, Osha threw some sort of device on the panel. But I thought, like, what was the reason for that? Because the panel closed. She could have still put that device on the panel because the device was on the panel on the outside of it. So what's the point?
I don't know. She serving the community. I don't know. I don't know. She could have easily just done that anyway without the girl's help.
Yeah, but again, getting into this little environment inside the Jedi Temple, it looked fantastic. It looked great. It reminded me of Jabba's palace, the hallways there, very well dressed, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, and I wanted to talk a little bit. I guess we'll just gloss over it real fast. Getting back to Venestra Rowe said, or did we talk about this regarding her? I think we talked about it on Twitter earlier in the day regarding her comment that her the political Jedi's political foes would have a field day if they found out that the Jedi, somebody's being, that all the Jedi are being hunted or killed or whatever. So I found that interesting as well.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, that was interesting. But I did want to, go back to the first episode. Props for mentioning Nar Shaddaa in the first one. That's always been one of my favorite planets, I think, because I played, Knights of the Old Republic and the Old Republic game. Yeah. Always, and read the old comics where Nar Shaddaa was all over the place. So kudos to them for that little Easter egg. That was nice.
Yeah. And again, Star Wars, if it does anything right, it does droids right. What'd you think of little Pip?
I thought it was cool. I mean, I would have liked it if she had a BD-1, just like I said, I really like the Jedi Survivor game.
Mhm.
But Pip's he's a very, I mean, he's a
The
multi-use tool.
Swiss
Yeah, he's
Army droid.
a droid. Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
I think it's cool in its own little way. I mean, obviously they're going to start selling it at
Right.
in Disney World here pretty soon. I'm sure. But
Yeah,
I think it's cool.
absolutely. Let's see. I don't know what else. Obviously they had a battle in the square there.
What'd you think about the thicker Jedi?
Oh, somebody online said Jedi diabetes.
Oh my God! Yeah,
People are wrong.
Jedi diabetes. Yeah,
Jedi diabetes. Yeah. I mean, the galaxy is filled with different shapes and colors of characters, so I'm okay with that.
yeah. I mean, I thought it was weird to see, but maybe it was like maybe the Jedi lost their standards out at all these outposts. I don't know. It was a little weird to see, but I don't know. But I couldn't even tell if he was a Jedi or not. That was the thing.
Oh yeah, he had a Padawan braid.
Did he have it? Oh, did he have
Yeah.
a Padawan? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't see
He was the one that brought out the little girl after they caught her, and he was shaking the little girl and telling her to spill the beans, and you can see that he had the
Okay.
braid. So yeah.
Oh yeah, Samuel Tarly. Yeah. You didn't watch Game of
that's
Thrones?
right.
Did you
I
watch
did,
Game
yeah.
of Thrones? You
Yeah,
did? Okay.
I don't remember any of their names, but yeah.
You got to remember Samuel.
Oh, that's hilarious. Vader Rapina. They misheard it as use the forks.
Use the forks.
He's like, okay. Yeah.
So the acting, you think is the acting going to be good enough to carry this all the way through?
The obviously one of the biggest reasons that we enjoyed Andor is because of the seasoned actors, if you will.
Yeah.
They are, mature, older actors. They've got some experience under their belt, and that is one of the reasons that Andor is so good. There's some gravitas when you bring in these types of actors. I think the actors in this show, there's a lot of young actors, and I think they're doing, the best that they can. But I think even some of the adult actors like Vanessa Rowe is very cardboardy.
Yeah. That was the most awkward "May the Force be with you"
Yeah.
we've heard in a while.
Yeah. But the girl that played Jackie,
Yeah.
she was okay. She was fine.
Yeah, and I do like how I mean, Will said it right there, Saul stealing the show. I love, how she proposed a plan for the thing. Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all y'all got to say to make Rose stop on his tracks. Just Andor.
Just say we love Andor.
But I love how he let his Padawan present a plan, and it
Yeah.
was a solid one, and he was like, "All right, Padawan, we're doing that." So
Yeah. And I think her acting is fine. Again, I think there's some naturalness to May/Osha, Amandala. There's she's fun to watch. I think she's fun to watch in both characters. But each one, slightly different.
Yeah.
But yeah.
How well do you think this is going to tie in to the series, to the movies?
To the movies, like prequels, original trilogy, sequels, that sort of thing.
Just the whole thing. Like, I guess specifically the prequels, but
yeah, I mean, I think they're going to tie in, quite well. There's already some stuff that we talked about regarding the Jedi and the start or the beginning of their fall. So I think it's going to tie in, in a kind of a neat little bow. I only read 1.5 books of the High Republic, so I'm not sure exactly, how these characters relate to each other. I know some of the characters are in that. So, we'll see. I mean, the Neomodians are in this. They look really fantastic. So we'll
less racist.
Yeah. So yeah, I think they'll definitely tie in to the films, especially the prequels. Obviously, you've got that screen at the top of the show that says this takes place 100 years before the rise of the Empire, which really, doesn't really mean the prequels per se, because the rise of the Empire happened a little after.
Right. So you're talking about
Yeah.
20, 30 years there.
Right.
30 years, I think, for episode 1.
Right.
But you're only talking about 70 years before that.
Right. So yeah, I like I said, I think they'll tie in. There's some, relationships between themes in this that I definitely see them, kind of expanding on or building on to get to where we know that's happened. So I think they'll tie in. I mean, it's a big galaxy. It's everybody knows everybody, and things are related. So
Yeah. The one thing that I think doesn't fit well is how they have the Jedi dressed, because they're all dressed pretty humbly in episode 1. They all got the monk attire, but here they got the flashy white and
sure,
gold yellow thing going.
yeah.
So that must have changed quite a bit in those years.
Right. And I think it also might go with the change of how the Jedi Order perceive themselves, humility versus, the bling per se.
Yeah.
So
I think might have been a PR thing for them to go more humble.
yeah. Yeah, I think so.
And here's a nice time to shout out. We've mentioned Plagueis multiple times, and here's my shout out for you to read the Darth Plagueis book, even though it's no longer considered canon. If you want more information on the Trade Federation and the taxation of trade routes and why they did the blockade and making all that make sense, James Lucino's Darth Plagueis book, please give it a read. And there's nothing that contradicts it currently in the canon. And so definitely make sure you give that a read. And I think after watching this show, whether or not you enjoy this show, I think you will enjoy that book even more. I might, talk about it now. I might give it a reread.
Yeah.
Here soon.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Also,
Excellent.
and if you don't have time, the Audible version of that, if you in your car, I can't remember. I don't think it was Mark Thompson that did the voice for that, but whoever read it did a very good job on that. So if you don't have time to read it, listen to it in your car.
Sure. Yeah. And a lot of the audiobooks have some great, full cast versions. So look for your favorite.
Well, most of the time it's just Mark Thompson, and he's amazing doing everybody's voice.
Yeah.
I know Will is into that and can appreciate that, but the one who did Plagueis did a really good job.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. Anything else on that second episode?
Let's see. Again, looked beautiful.
Yeah.
Everywhere we saw, it looked good. I thought the writing was about the same. Maybe a little bit better than the first episode. Again, we have the awkward scene at the end. I don't like that where you're outright setting up the next episode. But it's always cool to see a Wookiee Jedi. So looking forward to that, but it still is very clunky there at the end when they do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
30 minutes. I think each episode needed like an extra 5 or 7 minutes.
Just flesh it out a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think you might get a point or two higher in the ratings. My personal ratings, if you just give it another 10 minutes, 15 minutes,
right,
that'd be good. But I'm going. I said 6 earlier in my mind. I might go 6.5.
Yeah.
I'm going to go 6.5 on the side. I like the second one a little bit better than the first one. So I'm going to say 6.5, and I can work with that again.
Yeah, I think I'll have to agree with you. It's funny because I don't know if I have a favorite of these two. I think they're both kind of like even keeled for me. They're not like super spectacular. I think maybe maybe on a third rewatch, but I think they're, they are what they are. We're getting thrown into this new story. We're still absorbing everything. there's obviously some elements that we discussed that we are, looking forward to. Semper Fi Danny obviously is actually looking forward to a Jedi Wookiee. So yeah, I think a lot of us are. I'm not digging his weird haircut with the buzz cut and it looks like he's got like a some sort of tattoo under the scalp there. So we'll see what that's all about. But
Chewie is old enough to be in this. We'll see.
Yeah.
This is 100 years before, so yeah, he would be less than 100, but he
Right.
would be alive. But again, talking about new planets and such, I don't. I would have rather seen Kashyyyk. I would have rather them use Kashyyyk than some new planet.
yeah,
for that.
and maybe they use the new planet because if you are a Wookiee and you're hiding, maybe you don't want to hang out in Kashyyyk. But you can also say that you are hiding in plain sight. So I don't know.
I mean, are all these Jedi hiding? Do we know that they're? I mean, because Soul's not hiding.
Yeah, Soul's not hiding.
And
But
did we get any indication that Carrie Ann Moss was hiding? She was in a bar, but was she hiding?
Yeah, but she was in a bar talking to some unsavory characters. So maybe she was, I don't know, getting some
Again,
fake passports or
outreach program.
yeah. But that says a lot about Soul too. I mean, you compared him to Qui-Gon Jinn, and I think maybe perhaps, he is the one Jedi out of all of these that may have some sort of remorse or some sort of transformative feelings regarding this event. But only time will tell. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean 6.5. If you think about that rating, that puts you, if you think about the the movies, if you give one of the movies a 6.5, that's in your top half, maybe your top third of movies that you like. So that's something to work with. And again,
Sure.
I needed a rewatch to actually have I don't know, I had to clean the slate mental slate a little bit.
Right.
It's not bad.
Well,
I thought it was going to be bad.
Yeah.
It's not bad. I don't think it's great. And I hope if they were going to go great, I think great would be reserved for the end. And how many episodes do we have on this one?
8.
8. Okay, so I'm hoping they reserve the great for episode 6, 7, 8.
Sure.
But it's good. It's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's not as bad as people are saying, like how horribly written it is, and it looks bad. I'm like, looks bad?
You can't say that at all.
You can't say that. No, not at all. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Like I said, I don't have a favorite of the two. I think they're both kind of like, they're at this plateau where it's like not super spectacular. But like I said, it's better than the Book of Boba Fett.
It is.
And I know a lot of people say that's a very low bar, but hey, you got to start somewhere, right?
I still haven't watched that last season of Mandalorian. I still got to get back to that.
Oh, so. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Any announcements before we head out? We definitely want to thank everybody that joined us in the chat. It is fantastic that you guys hung out with us. Are you going to come back with me next week to review the next episode?
Absolutely. See, and look, Jameson Horton loved Book of Boba Fett. There's something for everybody. And again, we don't shit on anybody for you liking what you like.
Sure.
Sometimes we don't always understand it. We can't see it, but that doesn't mean that we're right and you're wrong, or vice versa. So enjoy,
Absolutely.
as Rose says, enjoy your Star Wars responsibly.
Absolutely. Jesse, what's up? Thanks for stopping by. But absolutely. We are going to have some guests throughout our review of the Acolyte. I've got a couple of folks that have messaged me that want to join us and talk the Acolyte. So the more, the merrier. And thank you everyone in the chat. We are simulcasting on YouTube and on Twitter. Thank you, Danny, for reminding me that was possible. We had some great success tonight because of that. So any other final thoughts or announcements? What do you got, Brad?
Just be kind to each other. That's it. and show some empathy.
Sure.
That's it. We all love the Star Wars saga. We all love it differently. It means different things to different people.
Absolutely.
And just let people enjoy it the way they want to, and you do the same.
Be kind, rewind.
Indeed.
Excellent. Quick announcement.
99 cents.
If you guys want to leave us a message, head on over to the Scarif Scuttlebutt hotline. That's 773-234-8659. And we'll be doing some new episodes this month. So Brad, get your schedule ready. Let's talk and plan all of that out.
I do have I always do this to you, but see, I have these thoughts, and then that's how my brain works.
Yeah.
Someone mentioned the D&D behind me, and Red 5 Tavern. If you do like D&D, in 2 weeks, Charles from Conversations will be the dungeon master again for more Red 5 Tavern, and great campaign over there. Yours truly will be playing as well, as much as I can, as much as my schedule permits. So please check that out. We just did a one-shot last night, which you can check out. We had a lot of fun. And then 2 weeks from now, we will be starting another campaign. So check that out, the Red 5 Tavern.
Excellent. And if anybody likes to read, head on over to Red 5 Reading. There's Nicole has spearheaded a wonderful reading club. Check out that channel and check out all the wonderful stuff that the Red 5 Network has to offer. I'm wearing the Red 5 t-shirt. Head on over to bio.link/red5 and browse through our collection. We've got a plethora of content creators, something for everyone. So please check it out. And if you guys agree or disagree or want to add your 2 cents to our conversation, head on over to the Scarif Scuttlebutt hotline, 773-234-8659. Put that in your Rolodex. And until next time, I'm Ro. And who are you?
There's no crying in Star Wars. I'm Brad. It's always snowy on Karlak, and that's the Scuttlebutt.
Take care, everybody. Peace.